Morning. Your Bibles to Luke 13, 31 to 35. Luke 13, 31 to 35. Trust you've had a better week than I have from getting full collision to be on 610 with my brakes go out to my phone dying. It's been quite the week, and it's good to see each of you this week to top it off and start a new week, maybe I should say. And it is good to be together. And I'm just hopeful that wind dies down. It has been something else. One day this week, I got 10 miles. Well, I got 10 miles in, but about 3 or 4 miles in, I'm like, I'm going home. Heading into that wind, 30-mile-per-hour headwinds, no way. No thank you. But it's good to be together. When I was in West Virginia, just started working there at the church, and the congregations there pulled together, and they had a monthly preacher and elder breakfast. Well, one of our elders and I went to the breakfast after I'd been there maybe 6 weeks, 2 months, something like that. That Gerald and I went to breakfast at Shoney's, and after we ate, Gerald was in front of me in line, and I was behind him to pay there at the local Shoney's. Had my ticket in my hand. Gerald turned around and said, "Justin, I'll pay for yours," and he got my ticket. I said, "Well, Gerald, you don't have to do that." He said, "Okay," and handed me my ticket back. I learned a valuable lesson that morning. When someone is willing to buy your breakfast, you don't say no. How willing are you to let other people help you? Let me ask you a question. How willing are you to do what your doctor says you ought to do? How willing are you to take those prescribed medications? How willing are you, ladies, to allow your husband to help around the house? Or is it the case that he makes a bigger mess than the one he's supposed to be cleaning up? And we do that on purpose, by the way, but that's another story. How willing are you to allow someone in your family or a neighbor or a member of this church to give you a ride to the doctor or grocery store or somewhere else when you need it? Jesus is willing to help you. He has offered to help you. He stands ready to help you. He said, for example, Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I will help you," Jesus said. But in Luke 13, Jesus made it abundantly clear that he doesn't help everybody. He doesn't serve everybody. No. You have to be willing for Jesus to help. And the point of this morning's text is this: you must be willing for Jesus to help you. You must be willing for Jesus to help you. That's what the Lord said in Luke 13, starting at verse 31. At that very hour, some Pharisees came and said to him, that is to Jesus, Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you. Now, these Pharisees were actually trying to do Jesus a favor. They really were, for a change. They did not believe in extrajudicial death penalties. They, in fact, typically, Pharisees believed in leniency. And so they didn't want to see Jesus put to death. Now the Sanhedrin had to ask permission from Rome to kill someone. Remember, when they sentenced Jesus to die in the Sanhedrin, they sent him to Pilate, so that Pilate could put him to death. Well, Herod is a tetrarch. He has the authority to put people to death. Remember, he has already killed John the Baptizer, and he doesn't have to go to Rome and ask permission. And so while Jesus is in Galilee, the area of Herod's jurisdiction, Jesus is, at least the Pharisees think so, in danger of being put to death. So they tell Jesus, get away from here. And he said to them, go and tell that fox. No, that is not a backhanded compliment from Jesus. Jesus wasn't saying, well, Herod's sly and that's a good thing. No. In Jesus' day, calling someone a fox meant they were untrustworthy, meant they were ruthless, that they were cunning without principle. And so Jesus means Herod is a no good scoundrel. He'll cun. He has no principle. Oh, he'll kill. And Jesus said, go tell that fox. Behold, I cast out demons. Go tell him what all I'm doing, all these miracles I'm performing. And perform cures today and tomorrow and the third day I finish my course. Nevertheless, I must go on my way today and tomorrow and the day following. Now, in Hebrew, I know Jesus spoke in Greek, but actually speaking Aramaic, and this is a Semitic expression, today and tomorrow and the third day. It meant a very short, definitive period of time. Jesus said, go tell Herod, that fox, I'm performing miracles. And basically tell him I'm going to Jerusalem. And in a very short period of time, I'm going to die. Go tell him exactly what's going to happen. For it cannot be, Jesus said, verse 33, the end of it, that a prophet should perish away from Jerusalem. As you read the Old Testament, you find that several Old Testament prophets were put to death in Jerusalem. Jewish tradition spoke about prophets being killed inside Jerusalem. Of course, prophets died, put to death, other places too. But Jesus is using hyperbole here to say, I don't have to worry about Herod. Herod is not going to kill me here in Galilee because I'm going to Jerusalem. And it's there that I'm going to die. That's what Jesus meant. Prophet cannot be killed outside Jerusalem. He would die. And he would die in Jerusalem as a prophet. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. Jerusalem had a history of killing prophets, as we've already said. How often would I have gathered your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings? In the Old Testament, God is often pictured as an eagle. An eagle who protects the Israelites under his wing. When a Jew made a proselyte of a Gentile, he was said to bring that Gentile under the wing of God's protection. Shadow of his wings. Jesus takes that divine imagery of protection, security, and applies it to himself. Being divine, obviously Jesus can do that. How often, the Lord said, I have wanted to take you, Jerusalem, to protect you, to give you security, provide for you as a mother provides for her children, but you're not willing. You wouldn't let me do that. Jesus said, I would have. I wanted to. But Jerusalem, you just wouldn't have. You were unwilling. Verse 35. Behold, your house is forsaken. Your house is obviously a reference to AD 70 and the destruction of Jerusalem. Jesus spoke these words, let's say AD 29, probably not long before he's crucified. And so in another 40 years, give or take, Jerusalem would be destroyed because they rejected the Messiah. It was punishment for their rejection of Jesus. Jesus said, because you were unwilling, because you would not let me gather you as a hen gathers her brood, your house desolate. You're going to be destroyed, be judged. I was willing to help you. I was willing to gather you together and give you security and protection. But you were not willing. Verse 35, and I tell you, you will not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. I don't know. Jesus may have been referencing the triumphal entry that's probably just a few days away. You know, the people said that in Jerusalem when he entered the city. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. But Jesus has just spoken about judgment. Your house is desolate. The emperor to be Titus would come against Jerusalem, destroy it AD 70. Speaking of judgment. And perhaps you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Perhaps Jesus spoke about the end of the world when he would come. And they would have no choice but to own his name, confess his name, and to bow the knee before him. Then to say, in a context of judgment that the Lord's already mentioned, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, but I don't know which it is. Scholars debate which it is, and I don't know. People would say when they saw him, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Jesus wanted to gather Jerusalem under the shadow of his wing, to protect them, to give them security, loved them, saved them, but they were not. But you, like Jerusalem all those millennia ago, must be willing for Jesus to help you. The Lord stands ready to help you this morning. He wants to help you this morning. But the Lord is not going to force the issue. He won't do it. He told the church, Laodicea, Revelation 3:20, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." I'm not coming in. I'm not turning that knob. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, Jesus won't open it. He won't do it. You have to open the door. I will come into him and eat with him, he with me. Or if you open the door, Jesus will bless you abundantly and richly and make his home with you. He and the Father, he said there in Revelation 3, will dine with you. You with them. But Jesus does not turn the knob. Doesn't even touch it. Don't knock on that door. Stand at the door and knock. You have to open. You have to be with. All of you have opened the door. Allow the Lord to enter. The question has to be asked. How do you live now that you need to be willing for Jesus to help you? Well, first, you need to examine just how willing you are for Jesus to help you. Examine your heart and see how willing you are for Jesus to help you. During the Babylonian captivity, Jeremiah said to his fellow countrymen in Lamentations 3:40, "Let's test and examine our ways and return to the Lord." Said that in Jerusalem that had been destroyed, been judged. What good counsel for you. Test and examine your ways. Turn to the Lord. Just how willing are you to allow Jesus to have control of your life? How willing are you to let Jesus have control of your life when it's not that? How willing are you really, really and truly? Yeah. 2, you need to embrace Jesus' teaching. You need to embrace Jesus. Think about Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem. How I have longed to gather you under my wings as a hen gathers her. But you are not willing. How did Jerusalem show they weren't willing? Oh, I don't know. If you read the context, perhaps the fact they killed the prophets and stoned those God sent to them. Pretty good indicator they were not willing. They didn't listen to God. God sent them prophets. And instead of hearing the word of the Lord and obeying the word of the Lord, they killed these people. Do that. You can't reject the word of the Lord. Instead, you must embrace His commands. You remember what Jesus, Matthew 7:21? Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom. Who, Jesus? Who will enter the kingdom of heaven? He who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. The one who does the will of my Father, that is the one who will enter the kingdom. The Lord went on in a few verses later. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Matthew 7:24. Let me just be blunt. Are you wise or are you stupid? That's the question before you. Are you wise? Building your life on the rock. Foolish? Building your life on sand that have you really and truly embraced free? You need to. You see, once you examine your heart, how willing am I to allow Jesus to help me? Once you embrace His teachings and you do His will, you get to enjoy the blessing. Jesus offered to allow Jerusalem to enjoy His blessing. How I have longed to gather you as a hen gathers her brood. Look, I would have given you, the Lord said, security and safety, blessings, but you were not willing. You understand that blessing follows obedience. When you do the Lord's will, the Lord blesses. James 1:25. The one who looks intently into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. He will be blessed in his doing. What blessing do you have this morning? What blessings are you enjoying? Do you enjoy that blessing of forgiveness? The blessing of a peace that passes all understanding. Blessing. The promised rest. Blessing of answered prayer. The blessing of divine. Yes, indeed. What blessing do you enjoy? No, with all due respect, I would be very remiss if I stopped right here. I'd like to. Like to. But it's not where the Lord stopped in this text. I think I need to stop where He did. Understand, if you don't examine your heart to see how willing you are for Jesus to help you, if you don't embrace his teachings and therefore don't have any enjoyment of his blessings, there is going to be extermination. There's going to be extermination in an eternal hell. Oh no, you're not going to be exterminated in the sense of unconscious or asleep or any. No, you know better than that. You will be very much alive, very much aware, very much conscious. You will be exterminated from the presence of the Holy God. That I can promise. You see, Jerusalem was going to be exterminated. Jesus said, your house lies desolate. Oh, if they had come to him, if they'd allowed him to gather him under his wings as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, there would have been no extermination for Jerusalem. Jerusalem would still stand to this very day with a temple and worship, and they rejected him. He rejected them. And if you reject, Lord, reject you. You stand at the door and knock. But if you just let him knock, 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 when he comes again, people say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. He will say to you, depart from me. I never knew you. To understand, there is judgment for those who do not open, who are unwilling for Jesus to gather them and give them security and safety and blessing. There is termination, eternal hell. The Apostle Paul put it this way in 2 Thessalonians 1:9. He said those who face extermination will suffer the punishment of eternal destruction. Destruction that never stops. Away from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his might. I like what John says in the Revelation, and I hate what John says in Revelation about those who reject the Lord. Smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. They have no rest, day or Revelation 14. Think about that. You know, I like it because it's such a powerful image. And I hate it because I know it's real. Smoke of their torment. They have no rest. No rest. Day or night. That's extermination. Torment. Without rest. Without pause. Without end. This morning, how willing are you, Jesus, to come and bless you, save you? You need come willingness. need to come right now. We stand and sing.